Hello, I'm Jim Ogsbury, the Executive Director of the Western Governors Association, and I'm excited to welcome you to the inaugural forum of the Western Prosperity Roundtable. Over the past several years, Western governors have aggressively expanded WGA's policy footprint to include issues related to prosperity and economic development. Recent chair initiatives have included the Western Governors Workforce Development Initiative and Reimagining the Rural West, a sweeping examination of economic opportunity, connectivity, and community vitality in rural areas. The governors have also adopted new policy resolutions on healthcare, broadband deployment, trade, and other issues that are foundational to quality of life and economic opportunity in our region. Today, we are proud to launch the Western Prosperity Roundtable, a permanent platform hosted by WGA that will harness the convening power of the governors and be guided by their ethos of bipartisanship, collaboration, and cooperation. The roundtable will assemble experts, stakeholders, policymakers, and thought leaders to deeply examine these cross-cutting issues, to share best practices, recommendations, and new ideas, and to design policy solutions for many of the most serious challenges facing individuals and communities in the West. Expanding access to behavioral health care, helping workers acquire skills and achieve economic stability, ensuring rural communities have access to the same basic services and amenities as their urban counterparts, are just a few of the issues that the roundtable will tackle, and they all involve thorny and intertwined challenges. Moreover, they have taken on increased urgency as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Western Prosperity Roundtable will be a vehicle for Western governors to continue their important work of expanding prosperity in the West in a way that recognizes the interconnectedness of a vast array of issues. I am pleased to recognize the leadership of the Western Governors Association to further expand upon the goals and opportunities of the Western Prosperity Roundtable, beginning with the chair of WGA, the 38th governor of the great state of Oregon, the Honorable Kate Brown.
Hi, I'm Governor Kate Brown of Oregon. Thank you so much for joining us today. As we emerge from this devastating pandemic and begin the hard work of recovery, we must build back better. We must lead with equity to ensure all of our communities have the tools, resources, and support systems to thrive. Across all of our states, communities are dealing with the challenges the pandemic has forced upon us, an emergency that no one was prepared for. There was no playbook to follow. And the impacts of the pandemic have not been felt equally. The pandemic has exacerbated and exposed deep-rooted inequities and faults in our systems, disproportionately impacting Black, Indigenous, Latino, Latina, Latinx, Asian, Pacific Islander, tribal, and people of color communities. It has shown us all the disparities in access to health care, workforce adaptability, and in connectivity. We're truly at a pivotal moment. We know that disasters will continue to disrupt life in the West. In Oregon, the pandemic was just one of the many crises we faced last year. We endured catastrophic wildfires last Labor Day, severe winter storms knocking out power for hundreds of thousands, and more. It's truly the hardest hit communities that have the hardest path to recovery. As we rebuild our economies, we have to ensure that these communities do not fall further behind. We have an opportunity to be creative and ambitious, to dream big, to pursue a more sustainable and equitable vision of Western prosperity. That's why we're launching the Western Prosperity Roundtable, to provide a forum for all of us, elected officials, experts, and stakeholders, to work together in support of our communities and bring much needed capacity to bear on our most urgent challenges. The roundtable will encourage the cross-pollination of ideas among states and amplify successful strategies, all in the pursuit of maintaining a focus on advancing prosperity for all. We are excited to launch this effort today. Thank you all for joining us. I'll turn it over to Governor Burgum to talk a bit more about Western Governor's work that forms the basis of the Western Prosperity Roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Brown. Looking ahead, we have a historic opportunity to invest in infrastructure, diversify our economy, and build healthy, vibrant communities. We are excited to launch the Western Prosperity Roundtable and continue WGA's important work on building a more vibrant and prosperous West. That work started in 2017 with the Western Governor's Workforce Development Initiative, which focused our states on the critically important work of preparing our students for good careers. The initiative highlighted the mismatch between our traditional educational pathways and the fast-growing, good-paying jobs that our businesses were struggling to fill. It brought together leaders from states, post-secondary education, and the private sector to share effective strategies for closing the skills gap and providing better opportunities for our young people. One product of that effort was a comprehensive set of recommendations for strengthening workforce development, recommendations that WGA continues to advance. In 2019, my chair's initiative, called Reimagining the Rural West, was launched to help reimagine rural communities and help them tap into the opportunities of an increasingly complex world where technology is changing every job, every industry, and every institution. The initiative focused on 3 pillars of prosperity: opportunity, creating an environment where everyone has a chance to prosper; 2, connectivity, ensuring that rural communities can better participate in the global economy and take advantage of cutting-edge technology; and 3, community, supporting locally led efforts to build great places to live, work, play, and retire. The initiative generated some crucial insights for the West, including that we need to change the way we approach economic development to focus on attracting a 21st century workforce and building community assets that improve quality of life. The global pandemic amplified the opportunity for the rural West and accelerated attention on the need for the 21st century infrastructure, including high-speed broadband for education, telehealth, and remote work. With this new understanding, we can empower rural communities to develop a shared vision for the future and then leverage their assets and resources to achieve that vision. The Western Prosperity Roundtable will carry that work forward and broaden our focus to all the communities in the West that have faced setbacks and challenges. Building on what we've learned, the Western Prosperity Roundtable will focus on 5 themes central to building prosperity. 1, expanding opportunity. 2, enhancing quality of life. 3, empowering communities. 4, modernizing infrastructure. And 5, harnessing innovation. I'm so excited for WGA to continue this important work, providing a forum for all of us, governors, local leaders, federal partners, business community, entrepreneurs, and the many nonprofits who work to support these goals, to work together to unleash our collective potential. We have a great agenda for the inaugural forum, and I'll hand it off to Governor Little to preview some of the exciting topics we will be discussing. Take it away, Brad.
Over the next 2 days, you'll hear from experts on several topics that are foundational to our prosperity in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we'll focus on connectivity and workforce training. By this point, we all know just how essential high-speed internet is to education, business, and healthcare. Due to our vast and rugged geography, the West has more challenges than any other region in the country in building out broadband infrastructure to reach all communities. Today's first panel, Connectivity and Closing the Digital Divide, will examine the investments being made in broadband and explore what work remains to be done. In our second panel, Education and Training for a Rapidly Changing Economy, we will examine the future of work. Our economies are changing at a rapid pace, and it is unlikely they will ever go back to the way they were. The pandemic has rapidly accelerated the adoption of technology in the workplace. There are also market-driven changes in critical Western sectors, causing the dislocation of workers through no fault of their own. We must ensure that our workforce development systems are prepared to deal with these changes so that our workers continue to have good opportunities and paths to prosperity. Tomorrow, we will start with a panel on state and local data in evidence-based decision-making. This panel will focus on how states are using data to be more efficient and effective, which is so critical to economic recovery. The panel will share how states are leveraging data to make sure that assistance gets to those who need it most. Then we will turn to disaster response. The public health emergency has clearly illustrated the challenges our communities experience in any type of disaster. There are obstacles to coordinated efforts across different levels of government and assessing urgently needed resources. Disasters, whether they be wildfires, floods, or other natural events, are a reoccurring threat in the West. Our panelists will examine how different layers of government can cooperate more effectively and augment our state and local capacity to prepare and respond to crises, and then recover faster. And finally, the pandemic opening the door to great advances in healthcare access by lifting restrictions on telehealth. Here in Idaho, the use of telehealth increased by 4,000%. We need to maintain these improvements in healthcare access, which are so critical to quality of life, particularly in our rural communities. Our panelists will discuss how telehealth access has benefited mental and physical health and what we need to do to make these changes permanent. Thank you for being here today and helping us with this important work.